It is not the world that hides the truth from you. It is your fear. There is a kind of silence that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of something ancient, something that pulses behind closed eyes, something that calls, but we dare not answer, because to listen, we must first silence the fear. We hear that the truth is hidden, that there are external forces trying to keep us ignorant, asleep. But what if it is not the world that conceals, but your own resistance to seeing? What if blindness is an unconscious choice? What if what holds you back is not the lack of light, but the panic of remembering what your soul already knows? Since childhood, you felt something was wrong with reality, as if the world were a dimly lit theater, and behind the curtains, something much greater was happening. But they taught you not to look, not to question, to fear everything outside the script. Don't go further. Don't think too much. Accept what you're told. And so, you began to forget. But what was forgotten did not vanish. It merely fell asleep, encoded in symbols, stored in dreams, reflected in pains, hidden behind fear. Because fear is the guardian of truth, not to punish you, but to test you. The one who wishes to remember must first cross the shadow they themselves created. What if everything you fear is exactly what sets you free? You feel it, don't you? That silent call, that memory that doesn't come from a thought, but from a deeper place. Your soul already knew. You only needed to remember. Forbidden knowledge is not hidden. It is encoded. There is no secret better kept than the one hidden in plain sight before eyes that refuse to see. The history of humanity is a long line of programmed forgettings, of truths buried under fear, guilt, and repetition. But those who know how to read symbols understand. What was called forbidden was not erased, it was encrypted. Since the most ancient times, civilizations whispered the same message under 1,000 names. The soul fell. Consciousness fragmented, and the truth was sealed within the seeker themselves. Not in the mountains, not in caves, but in the psyche of those who fear their own power. What if the forbidden fruit of Eden was not sin, but memory? What if the serpent was a symbol of awakening and not of betrayal? The scriptures, myths, sacred texts never spoke directly, because the language of the sacred is not linear. It is symbolic. It is vibrational. What is true hides between the lines. The Egyptians did not say everything. The Essenes did not say everything. Jesus spoke in parables. Hermes wrote in riddles, not to confuse, but to protect. Because what has not been integrated will be feared, and fear turns wisdom into heresy. The fall of the soul was not physical, it was vibrational. The frequency of consciousness lowered, and with it, access to hidden knowledge was sealed. But the seal is not unbreakable. It responds to a single key, the pure intention to remember. All esoteric knowledge is a language of return. Alchemy, Kabbalah, Hermeticism, sacred geometry, astral projection, apocryphal gospels, forbidden books, none of them teach directly. They awaken memories already within you. You do not learn, you recognize. You do not discover, you remember. But there is a filter, a veil that separates the seeker from the symbol. And that veil is not external. It is fear. The fear of recognizing what this would mean. The fear of no longer being able to pretend that life is merely flesh. The pain of knowing you were part of the forgetting. Forbidden knowledge was never destroyed. It was sealed by your own consciousness. And every time you approach a symbol, a truth that vibrates strongly, and feel an urge to pull back, pay attention, because that urge is the guardian. and the guardian always protects the right portal. There is no need to search far. The scriptures are within. The keys are in your patterns, in your dreams, in your pains. Every external symbol is a reflection of a dormant internal language. What the ancient masters knew, and what so many feared would be revealed, is that you are the forbidden library. You are the sealed book, and every time you choose to cross through fear, a page opens, a page that your soul wrote before it forgot. The soul remembers in symbols what the mind forgot out of fear. When the mind blocks, the soul speaks in dreams. When fear silences, the symbol shouts. The soul does not forget, it only stores, and it stores in images that seem unreal, but are more truthful than any logical discourse. Have you ever dreamed of a place you've never visited, yet it felt familiar? Have you ever felt certain words vibrate as if they've always lived inside you? This is not coincidence. This is vibrational memory. The soul does not archive knowledge like a book. It inscribes it in fractals, numbers, archetypes, metaphors. The symbol is the bridge between what was forgotten and what longs to be remembered, between what was sealed and what is now ready to emerge. Carl Jung understood this. He saw that behind every neurosis, every recurring dream, there was a symbol trying to break free from the prison of the conditioned mind. He called it the collective unconscious. But the ancients already knew that is where the wisdom of the soul resides. The Gnostic traditions claimed that the material world is an illusion generated by entities that feed on forgetting. They called them archons, and they taught, the one who recognizes the symbol breaks the prison. That's why ancient myths are not just stories, they are maps. Every character, every animal, every scene reflects a psychic key. Orpheus descending to the underworld, the mind entering the shadow in search of the lost soul. Prometheus chained, knowledge bound by the fear of punishment. The phoenix, consciousness reborn after the death of the ego. Symbols are mirrors. They do not show what you are, but what you forgot you are. But you must truly look, without fear of what might arise, because the symbol also reveals what has been repressed. You do not fear the symbol. You fear what it activates. The remembrance that there is something beyond the narrative you accepted as life. What if this world were nothing more than a theater to activate memory? True religions were not dogmas. They were enactments, rituals created to evoke, images carved to open the vibrational field of the soul. When Moses sees the burning bush, when Krishna blows the conch, when Jesus walks on water, they are not showing miracles. They are showing symbols of awakening. But why do we forget? Because touching the truth without preparation disintegrates the ego. It's like looking directly at the sun after living in darkness. The pain is not in the light. It is in the eyes that do not yet know how to see. That's why fear is the filter. It prevents access to what cannot yet be sustained. What if the darkness in your life were not punishment, but training? Every loss, every trauma, every fall is a symbolic initiation, a disguised ritual. The soul does not evolve through explanations, but through revelations. And every true revelation is preceded by deconstruction. Chaos comes before order, the shadow before the light, doubt before remembrance. But when the symbol is finally recognized, when you read a phrase, see an image, feel a vibration, and something ignites, that is not learning. It is return. You are not learning now. You are returning to yourself, to the point where you were never separated. And the symbol then ceases to be a mystery and becomes a mirror. Every trauma is a lock. Every heavy emotion, a rusted key. Everything your soul could not remember was inscribed in the body. Every denied memory became tension. Every suffocated truth became a symptom. Every rejected symbol became a repeated pattern. The truth did not vanish. It merely changed form. Now it visits you as insomnia, as chronic anxiety, as an inexplicable emptiness even after achievements. Your body speaks the language of the forgotten soul. We are told that trauma is just an event from the past. But it isn't. Trauma is a sealed portal. It is an energy code that your consciousness has not yet deciphered. And until it is deciphered, it repeats. It repeats. It repeats. Until you stop asking why and start asking, what is this wound trying to remind me of? The body carries keys, but they are rusted by time, by judgment, by fear. Every recurring pain is not asking for relief. It is asking for presence. It is saying, here is something your soul has not yet integrated. Heavy emotions, anger, sadness, jealousy, guilt are not flaws. They are symbolic compasses. They point to the places where you betrayed yourself, where you accepted illusion as truth, where you chose safety over consciousness. You don't fall ill by chance. You don't repeat patterns by accident. You don't feel disconnected because something went wrong. Nothing went wrong. Everything is trying to awaken you. But the modern world teaches us to silence the body, to distract ourselves, to medicate, to suppress the signs. And so, the symbol crystallizes. It gets trapped, like a truth buried in flesh. But listen closely. The body is your silent master. And pain, your secret ritual. It is not punishment. It is code. It is compressed memory awaiting your attention. What if every part of you that feels broken today is a part of you that remembers? Your exhaustion. Perhaps it is resistance to a life without truth. Your anxiety. Perhaps it is your soul trying to break free from the role you play. Your melancholy? Perhaps it is the longing for who you truly are. Every symptom is a mirror. It does not speak of illness. It speaks of disconnection. And every time you flee from pain, from emotion, from the shadow, you flee from the truth it holds. But something changes when you decide to listen, when you touch the pain with compassion, when you embrace anger without judgment, when you hold fear as a messenger and not as an enemy. Then the symbol begins to move, the energy begins to flow again, and the body, which seemed only a burden, becomes a temple of remembrance. The body is not a prison, it is an altar, and you are the priest who forgot the rituals. Remembering is not searching, it is allowing to emerge. You don't need to climb mountains. You don't need to travel to the east, nor decipher all the ancient books. Remembrance does not come from effort. It comes from silence. Remembering is not adding. It is letting go of what is on top. It is making space for what already exists within you. Because the knowledge you seek is already in your field. It only needs permission to emerge. So how do you open that space? Ritual silence. Set aside 7 minutes a day. Sit, breathe, and repeat slowly. I am ready to remember. I accept what my soul already knows. The symbol speaks to me, and I listen. Expect nothing, just allow. Because at first, remembrance comes as a feeling, not as a sentence. Symbolic journal. Before sleeping, write, what am I forgetting that I already know? And upon waking, note everything. Dreams, images, stray words, sensations. The symbol speaks in the moments between sleep and wakefulness. There, the rational mind is still weakened, and the soul can whisper fragments of memory. Vibrational repetition. Choose a phrase that resonates with your search, and repeat it for 21 days before sleeping. I am awakening what my soul has stored. What scares me, sets me free. I do not learn, I remember. Repetition creates frequency, and frequency opens the symbol. Presence in pain. When something hurts, physically or emotionally, stop. Don't flee, Touch the pain with awareness, breathe into it, and ask, what symbol is buried here? Because suffering without attention is repetition, but suffering with presence is a portal. Prayer to the symbol. The symbol is not a drawing, it is a vibrational bridge. Choose one that calls to you. An eye, a mirror, a circle, a rune, an image from a dream. Sit before it. Observe. Breathe with it. Ask, what do you want me to remember? And then simply listen, without expecting a linear answer. Because the symbol speaks through resonance. These practices are not techniques. They are rites of reconnection. They don't promise results. They promise presence. And in presence, memory returns. Remembering is not an event. It is a vibrational state. It is when you stop running and allow what was forgotten to catch up with you. If you engage in these practices with surrender, a moment will come, unexpected, simple, perhaps while listening to a song, seeing an image, smelling an ancient scent, and then you will know. You will know that something within you has just remembered. There is no hidden knowledge. There are eyes that still refuse to see. The universe does not hide. It reflects. The truth does not disguise itself. It mirrors. But eyes clouded by fear mistake symbols for threats, and what should be a portal becomes a prison. Since ancient times, a phrase has echoed, as above, so below, as within, so without. What if this is literal? What if the world, the pain, the encounters, and the losses are merely external versions of internal truths awaiting integration? What if your life is not a story, but a symbolic image of your soul, your childhood, a mirror of your level of receptivity, your relationships, vibrational tests of your emotional frequency, your losses, secret initiations toward your remembrance? Nothing is random. Everything speaks. But we must learn to see without fear, to listen without censorship, to interpret without judgment. Because the symbol does not respond to logic. It responds to resonance. You can read 1,000 books and not understand. But upon seeing an image, hearing a phrase, touching a word, and feeling a shiver, there lies the truth. And then everything changes. You realize you don't need to access hidden knowledge. You need to dissolve what blocks it. And that blockage is not external. It's not a government, nor a religion, nor a conspiracy. It's an internal filter, the fear of seeing what you've always known. Because seeing implies acting, remembering implies changing, and changing is frightening. It's easier to keep sleeping, more comfortable to repeat the pattern, safer not to know. But your soul no longer accepts this. It screams in your dreams, whispers in strange encounters, cries on days when everything feels too normal. What if everything you call coincidence is your consciousness in code? The phrases that touch you, the symbols that repeat, the people who seem to know you from other lives. None of this is random. They are signs from the field of memory trying to open. And then you understand. There is no hidden knowledge. There are hearts still closed. There are eyes still asleep. And this changes everything. It's not about searching more. It's about unblocking what already pulses, awakening what already vibrates, accepting what you already are. The seeker is not someone who finds. They are someone who recognizes what they never ceased to be. Your soul already knew. You only needed to remember. We've reached the end, which in truth is the beginning. Because everything that was said here, you already knew. Not with the mind, but with something older, deeper, more yours. There is no new wisdom. There is only activated memory. And perhaps, in this very moment, something within you has begun to pulse again. You are not the character, nor the name. nor the social role. You are the one who observes the character and begins to remember. And in remembering, everything changes. The world no longer deceives you. Pains gain meaning. Repetitions reveal the key. Fear dissolves because you finally hear what it was guarding. And then you understand, it is not the world that changes. It is me from within. If something in you burns, feels moved, grows restless, it's not because of something you learned. It's because of something that has just awakened. And now, everything depends on you, not to believe, not to understand, but to allow this remembrance to grow, perhaps in silence, perhaps in the next dream, perhaps in the next tear, but it will grow. Because once you remember, you can never fully go back to sleep. I invite you now to seal this experience with a symbolic act. Right below, I have remembered, not out of vanity, but to declare to the universe that a part of you has returned. And when fear returns, because it will return, look at it not as an obstacle, but as the guardian announcing a new door. Embrace it, breathe into it, and say, "Thank you. You no longer control me, you only guide me." Your soul already knew, you only needed to remember.